Okay, so welcome, and we do have one person on, and I am recording the session just in case anybody has that. And so I want to welcome Lindsay Chichester, who is going to be talking about the YQCA program. I'm going to turn it over to you, Lindsay.
All right, let me share my screen here. Okay, are you seeing this in PowerPoint, Carrie? All right. So hi, everybody. As Carrie said, I'm Lindsay Chichester. I'm the Extension Educator in Carson City. And tonight I'm going to visit with you about Youth for the Quality Care of Animals, or YQCA. So this is a little bit different than what you were familiar with as far as what used to be, or what came out of Nebraska. It's similar in that it's broken down by age, and it covers all of the species that produce a consumable product. It's also online, and then there's the face-to-face component. And we'll go through kind of how YQCA was created and why it was created, and the steps for using it. And I have actually been involved since the very beginning, and so I'm familiar with the program. Carrie and I decided that I would be the state contact on it. We do keep in touch and touch bases regularly on questions and trying to get things initiated and off the ground. So that's kind of how I got involved. So Carrie, did you see the slide change? Okay, good. I'm working from 2 monitors, so I just have to make sure that it's showing up right. So we're going to cover kind of the YQCA background in general, some of the program components, options for implementation, and then what the youth should experience on their end and or their parents. And then just learning more about promoting YQCA and kind of how we're currently using it in Nevada. So a little bit on the background. Youth for the Quality Care of Animals has 3 big umbrella areas, which are food safety, animal well-being, and life skills. So these are the areas that when we all sat down to start working on YQCA, the curriculum map, and what we wanted to cover that we thought was important for youth producers to know, everything kind of fell under one of these areas. So you'll see these more as we go, and as the youth do start working through this, how these sections are broken apart. YQCA is for youth producers ages 8 to 21. So some states 4-H age is 8 to 18. We also thought it was important to cover that kind of that gap between, you know, that 18 or 19 years old up until they became kind of an adult producer. So we're thinking the FFA students. Some of the adult programs are a little more intense than the youth ones, and so there was that in-between stage that we just thought YQCA would be a niche for. So just a little background on how this all came about and the timeline. So in the summer of 2013, National Pork Board brought everybody together, all the states that had a Pork Board approved Youth Quality Assurance Program. And I say that because the Pork Board is the only industry association that has an in-depth, current, intensive youth quality assurance program. And so in turn, any state that had a quality assurance program for their youth within that state had to have it approved by the National Pork Board as far as meeting certain standards, sending the right messages, good production practices, all of the things that we hope youth are learning across the country in those quality assurance programs. So once it was approved by National Pork Board, you could go back to your state and offer that respective program to your youth. So that's why those states, and there were 9 at the time that were brought to the table, other species groups as well as industry representatives. So summer of 2013, we all decided that, you know, coming together and putting together a national program versus each state doing their own thing was absolutely something we should do. The problem was there were a lot of people at the table that wanted a piece of the pie, that thought their state programs were better than others, and we just didn't make a lot of progress. So you can see almost over a year later, September through December of 2014, we started trying to work on it again. So there was a survey done about what we wanted. Program research was conducted, and we kind of developed a prototype. What were the absolute must-haves of a youth quality assurance program? What would be the nice-to-haves? And what was the fluff? 2015, we started meeting more regularly. We established some subcommittees. What platform would we use? Kind of the program and policies. What would promotions and fundraising look like? What would the curriculum be? And then finally, the research and evaluation component. The initial fundraising efforts also began at that time. Also in 2015, we decided that Registration Max would be the platform for YQCA. Registration Max also runs 4-H Online, which is what we use here in Nevada, so most people are familiar with them from that standpoint. We also contracted with a company out of Lincoln, Nebraska called Vivayak, and they helped really facilitate the process. So obviously they didn't have any ties to anybody or their curriculum. Their end goal was to help the National Pork Board essentially come up with a youth quality assurance program. And so they have been tremendously helpful through this entire process, and they continue to be a partner to date. We also continued the subcommittee work, fundraising, and began promoting YQCA. So if anybody had ever been to one of their national association meetings, whether it be through 4-H or agriculture, there were some YQCA talks as well as booths there. So that started happening. 2016 was a big deal. Youth for the Quality Care of Animals was officially established, became an organization, has all the appropriate paperwork established, and it was a big process to get there. 2017, we started launching the year 1 modules in March of 2018, was year 2, and then in March of 2019, we'll actually finish up years 3 and 4. And so I say 3 and 4 because the way that this is built, and we'll talk more about that here in a minute, some of the ages have 4 years of curriculum and some have 3. So, but the rest of those will come out next spring. The second set of instructor-led training materials will also be available in August of 2018 and 2019. So our instructors are trained annually, and the content's updated for them as well. So as of March 1st of this year, YQCA certifications across the country, there have been over 6,300 web-based certifications earned. The slide here just shows kind of the 5 biggest states at this point. Nevada is obviously participating in that. We just don't have that many youth involved. On an instructor-led training basis, 21 states have signed an agreement with YQCA, and Nevada 4-H is one of them. There's been about 1,400 youth that have completed their instructor-led training. So that's the face-to-face component. And it's important to note here that by us signing an agreement with YQCA, anybody that has been using beef quality assurance or pork quality assurance or the Youth Pork Quality Assurance Plus programs to teach quality assurance to their youth are no longer able to do that. We now have the agreement with YQCA saying that we will use this youth quality assurance program. So there are some partners. So as you can imagine, working on this for numerous years before it was ever launched, all of the curriculum components, there's a lot of pieces that had to come together in order for this to get going. And we just always think it's important to recognize some of those sponsors that are partners, I guess, that have contributed financially to this. The National Pork Board, the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, National Corn Growers, American Sheep Industry Association, as well as the University of Missouri Extension. So some people always ask why the University of Missouri, and one of their youth livestock specialists there used to always spend $10,000 annually updating the quality assurance for her state. So rather than her continuing to do that as an individual for one state, she now puts that $10,000 toward YQCA on an annual basis. And so that's helpful to the YQCA program. All right, so switching gears a little bit, let's talk about some of the program components. So it was important, much like everyone is familiar with what used to come out of Nebraska, that this continue to be an evidence-based content organized by age level, demonstrating a progression of knowledge throughout content areas. So what that literally breaks down to is, year one, we're going to start with the basics. We're going to build on that for year 2, year 3, and if applicable by their age, potentially year 4. So, what they're learning as a year 1 junior is going to be very different than a year 3 intermediate as opposed to a year 2 senior. But hopefully it has established and set those building blocks so that they learn the information as they go to become good youth producers. So you can kind of see in this curriculum map, some of the modules have the same title. So year 3 intermediate is Herd Health Plan. Year 3 senior is also called that. The title is, even though it might say that, the learning objectives are very different based on the age and what we think that they should cover and know by that age. One of the ones, let me see where that's at. We do talk about euthanasia in one of the sessions. I believe it's for a senior. It's not specifically in this map, but we think that by the time they're a senior age 4-H member, the animal's well-being and potential decision that they would have to make to put an animal down if it's, is unable to recover is something that a senior age 4-H member might have to think about, especially if they want to continue being in the livestock business. A junior, on the other hand, that probably would not be appropriate curriculum for them. So that's kind of what those curriculum maps cover. Implementation options, so instructor-led versus web-based training. So right now there's 2 options. The first over in the yellow is the online certification. So this is a $12 annual fee, which is paid by the user, and the youth just access their age-appropriate content online. They can go through it at their own pace. They can revisit it as many times as they need to, and it's kind of a great little piece for them to be able to get into and continue to access if they need to. The other option is the instructor-led, which is $3 annually paid by the user. So this is a little bit different because it's $3 paid to YQCA. We are then asking in Nevada that they bring an additional $5 to their face-to-face training. That $5 just helps the trainer cover mileage that they might have had to get to a training location, as well as any supplies that they may have had to purchase for the activity portion. The face-to-face trainings do take about 1 hour to get through all of the curriculum and instruction, and then if there's excuse me, any activities on top of that, that might take a little more time. The trainers across the state have been through the training. They all understand and know the curriculum, and I can send those maps out to everybody so that you know who has been trained and where they're located at in the state. So let's talk a little bit about fees, because everybody automatically thinks that YQCA must be getting rich based off of what we charge. And in fact, that's not necessarily true. So the $12 breaks down, 36 cents of that goes to credit card fees. About $5 goes to technical and user support, email and phone support. These people are based in the United States, and anytime you send an email to help@YQCA or info@YQCA, the people that respond to you, this is where that $5 is going to. Another $5 goes to just hosting the online system, its maintenance, ongoing development, security, and privacy assurance. And then the final $1.64 stays with YQCA to invest in ongoing curriculum development and revision, program management, and promotion. The $3 in-person or face-to-face fee, about 9 cents of that covers the credit card fees. The $1.50 is for the technical or user support, email support, And then $1.41 is for the online system, hosting, maintenance, the development, all of that. So sometimes if a youth cannot complete their YQCA certification for some training, they do have the ability to get out of it. So they just need to try to do that within a 24-hour period ahead of that. If that should happen to you or anybody that you're working with, just let me know, or you can send an email obviously to YQCA as well, and I'll do my best to help make sure we either get you in another class or a refund if that's appropriate. One of the nice features are coupon codes. So coupon codes are nice because some counties that people work with have a Farm Bureau or other commodity association, maybe it's an individual donor that wants to pay for the youth to complete their quality assurance. So you can get on YQCA.org and find these coupon codes. It's the same price as if the youth were going to sign up themselves, $12 for the web-based or $3 for instructor-led. The great thing about these is they do not expire. So if your county was to buy 50 of them this year and you only used 30, next year those 20 coupons you have left over would still be good. And then when I show you what this looks like in a little bit, there is a place where they would put that coupon code into their registration. So know that this exists if you have anybody in your community that potentially would want to sponsor the youth to complete their quality assurance. All right, so what is it going to look like from the youth and or parent end? When you go to YQCA.org, there's the option to sign in or register. And when you click on that, this is what comes up. So if your county is using, is a county that is having their families register and sign up for things through 4-H Online, then you would direct your families to sign up that way. If your county is not there yet, you would sign up through the independent sign-in, and this is pretty straightforward. It has you put in a name, your email. I cannot stress enough that as you do this, to make sure that you write down this email and password that you create. Unfortunately, I cannot help you retrieve that information. I'm not sure if YQCA can, so I would just write it down or use something that you use for other stuff perhaps. So when you get in here, the course list is broken down by age. So in Nevada, regardless of if these ages match up with our current structure, find the age that is most appropriate. If you have a 9-year-old junior at home, there is nothing when you are signing up for this class to keep them from selecting that they are, you know, a 14-year-old intermediate. The content is not appropriate for them at that stage, and they'll, if they pass it, receive credit as the intermediate and not as the junior course they need. So just help guide your 4-H member to make sure that they select the course that is appropriate for their age level. Next, you'll want to purchase the course. So in the $12 one, it's pretty self-explanatory. You see there that there is the option to put in your, well, I guess it's not down until the payment method, but the option to put the coupon code in there, and then you would just select it and put in your credit card information, and then it does give you access to get into the course. The other one is the instructor-led. So this one is it takes a couple more steps. First, you need to select the state, which obviously we would all choose Nevada. Next, you would select a training. So any of our state trainers out there first have to get into this program and set their training up. So it's crucial that the state trainers do this in a timely fashion and get those trainings put in here so then the youth can come in and set these trainings up, register for these trainings that are set up by the youth instructors. All right, so once they're in the course, it's kind of handy because you can see the progress. So as I mentioned earlier, there's the 3 umbrella areas: that animal well-being, the food safety, and life skills. And then it tells where they're at in the process. So they've passed the quiz for food safety and the quiz for animal well-being. A quiz passing score is 80% or better. So the way that the system is set up is that the youth can go directly to the quiz if they choose. to see if they can pass it without going through the knowledge builder, or essentially the curriculum, or through the skills lab. However, if they don't pass the quiz, they will be locked out of taking it again for 1 hour. And that 1 hour time lockout is meant to send them back to that knowledge builder to actually review the information, which they should not have a problem completing the quiz after that. So the knowledge builders are the respective curriculum for that age group. And then the skills labs kind of are, I don't know, the fun, or I hate to say game part of it, but the part that kind of enhances what they've learned in the knowledge builder section. So for example, in one module, it's kind of some cartoon design, and it shows an animal pen, and you know, the water is empty, there's no feed, there's a fan that's not running, and the youth just have to go through and identify places where, you know, in their daily observations of their animals, things that would concern them. And so it just helps them identify what those places are. So it's just reinforcing what they're learning in that knowledge builder. Once they complete all of the quizzes and pass them, they're able to print their completion certificate. So you can see that that then becomes available to them. The status of their courses changes to completed. So they can print their certificate and send a copy to their local extension office, or, you know, take it with them to the fair, or they can download it, email it, save it, do whatever, just to verify and prove that they have in fact completed this training. So learning more and getting started. As I mentioned earlier, YQCA has a couple of ways that you can reach out to them. You know, for some reason you're working on this at 11 o'clock at night, you know that I'm not going to be in my office to help you. You can send an email to YQCA. One of them is info. So if you're just trying to get some basic information, it's info@yqca.org. If you actually need help on an issue, the other one that's not up here is help@yqca.org. And then just the website is yqca.org in itself. And you can kind of explore around there and see what exists. So some things that I have been asked as kind of our state contact person are who can become a state trainer. Right now, the YQCA board has identified that only extension professionals can be a trainer, FFA advisors, or veterinarians. So at this time, those are only the 3 groups that are able to be a state trainer. Let's see. The question came up earlier, is this mandatory for the Nevada Junior Livestock Show? The answer is yes, and you can find that information in the rule book there. We will be going, so when NJLS did use the Nebraska resources previously, it was set up a little bit differently than YQCA. So in the fall, I will be attending their rules meeting to help finalize what that should look like. So one of the things that's coming that I haven't talked about yet is, because there's not all of the curriculum built out at this point, there's not a test out option. So once upon a time, intermediates and seniors had the ability to test out if they went through all of the curriculum. That will come eventually. We're just not there yet. So if that's something that you're interested in, stay tuned, because it is coming down the road. I guess that's all I have. What questions exist, or Carrie, what didn't I cover that?
I put in the chat box to let Jamie know that in Elko County there is a trainer for face-to-face trainings, and that is Jessica. I think it's Bullet Set, who's the FFA advisor at Elko High School. So
correct. And as far as I know, we're still waiting on Jessica to complete all of her training. So she's technically not a trainer yet, but she is on the list.
Okay. But I wasn't sure about that, but we are working with her trying to get that so that Elko is covered.
Yes, definitely.
And that was, yeah. Do you have any other questions?
All right.
Yeah. Okay, nope, none right now.
Okay, well, that sounds good. And I just encourage anybody, if you've got any questions, comments, or concerns, just to reach out to me. I'm in Carson City, so you can find me on our website there.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Carrie.
Yeah. Thank you, Jamie, for joining tonight. And I will get this, I'll get it all posted and everything.